In January 1959, 10 hikers set out into the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. Led by 23-year-old engineering student Igor Dyatlov, the group consisted of highly experienced survivalists aiming for the highest cross-country skiing certification the state offered. By February 1st, after one member turned back due to illness, the remaining 9 made camp on the exposed slopes of Kholat Syakh, a peak known to the local indigenous people as Dad Mountain. The plan was to complete their route and report back by February 12th. Weeks passed. Nobody returned. When a rescue party finally reached the campsite, combing through deep snow and blinding whiteouts, they found the group's tent partially buried. Inside, they found the hikers' gear and cold-weather clothing intact. The tent canvas had been violently slashed open, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Leading away from the slashed fabric were footprints heading down the slope. The impressions were calm and measured, but strangely shallow. In weather hitting -30 degrees Celsius, some of the hikers were walking in just their socks. Others were completely barefoot. They had voluntarily cut their way out of their only shelter. Whatever was happening inside that tent was so terrifying, these elite survivalists decided that walking half-naked into a lethal blizzard was the safer option. A mile down the slope by a large cedar tree, searchers found the first 2 bodies, next to the remnants of a small, futile fire. Despite the sub-zero temperatures, both men were stripped down to their underwear. It took until May to find the remaining hikers. 4 of them were buried deep in a snow-filled ravine. The condition of these bodies was gruesome. 2 were missing their eyes, and 1 was missing her tongue. The medical examiner, Boris Vozrojdeny, noted something even stranger during the autopsies. Several of the ravine victims had suffered massive, car crash-level internal trauma, including crushed ribs and cracked skulls, yet their skin showed absolutely no external bruising or abrasions. As the investigation dragged on, Soviet officials tested the victims' clothing and found low-level traces of radioactivity on a few of the garments. The Soviet government abruptly closed the case, vaguely attributing the deaths to a compelling natural force. That phrase, combined with glowing clothes, missing tongues, and crushed ribs, created a perfect vacuum for speculation. For the next 60 years, the Dyatlov Pass incident became a magnet for theories involving alien encounters, Yeti attacks, and secret weapons testing. To figure out what actually happened, we have to look closely at those original 1959 autopsy reports. Take the half-naked bodies by the fire. This is a documented medical phenomenon called paradoxical undressing. In the final stages of severe hypothermia, as the body's thermoregulation completely fails, blood vessels dilate rapidly. This flushes warm blood to the skin, creating a sudden, intense burning sensation. Tricked into thinking they are overheating, victims will confusedly strip off their clothes in the freezing cold. The missing eyes and tongues found on the ravine group sound like the work of a monster, but the environmental context explains it. Those specific bodies were submerged in a running stream for 3 months before they were discovered. Soft tissues are the first to degrade in water, making them highly susceptible to natural decomposition and small scavenging animals. As for the radiation, 2 of the hikers worked as engineers at the Chelyabinsk 40 nuclear facility. The faint traces of radioactive material were localized to their specific garments, simply leftover contamination from their day jobs. When you apply basic forensic science, the myths evaporate, leaving the grim reality of the human body breaking down in extreme cold. But biology alone still doesn't explain the ravine group. We still have cracked skulls and rib cages crushed with immense force, completely lacking a single surface scratch. We have to find a physical force capable of distributing extreme, heavy pressure across a human chest, acting like a vice rather than a blunt weapon. In 2021, a team of researchers from a Swiss Avalanche lab decided to test the original 1959 terrain data against modern physics. To accurately simulate the mechanics of the mountain's snowfall, they utilized advanced snow modeling software originally developed by Walt Disney Animation Studios for the movie Frozen. Running the mountain's topography through the simulation proved a very specific, rare event was possible, a delayed slab avalanche. Instead of a powdery wave of loose snow, a slab avalanche occurs when a solid, rigid block of compacted ice and snow detaches at once. When the hikers arrived on Dead Mountain, they dug a flat platform into the slope to pitch their tent. This excavation undercut the snowpack, creating a structural weak point. As the wind howled that night, more snow piled up above them until the tension finally snapped. A heavy, solid block of ice slipped down the slope directly onto the tent. Because it was a broad, flat slab hitting a layer of canvas and sleeping bags, the immense weight spread evenly across the hikers sleeping on the downhill side. This delivered a perfectly distributed compressive force, crushing their bones inward without scraping or bruising the skin. A dense block of geometric ice operating under the strict laws of physics perfectly accounts for the blunt force anomalies. The compelling natural force cited by Soviet investigators was exactly that. Knowing this, we can accurately trace what happened on the night of February 1st, 1959. The group is asleep in the pitch black. Out of nowhere, a sudden crushing weight flattens the tent. In an instant, 3 of the hikers suffer catastrophic internal injuries. The remaining uninjured members are suddenly suffocating under the canvas. Fearing this is just the first wave of a massive mountain-wide avalanche, survival instincts take over. They grab a knife, slash the fabric of the tent, and violently push their way out into the storm. They don't have time to dig for boots or coats. They pull their gravely injured friends from the wreckage and retreat down the slope, walking blindly into a negative 30-degree blizzard to reach the safety of the tree line. Under the cedar tree, they build a desperate, futile fire. Hypothermia takes hold. The cold scrambles their nervous systems, driving some to strip off clothes. A few try to crawl back up the mountain toward the ruined tent, freezing mid-stride. The others carry their dying friends further down into the ravine to escape the wind, ultimately succumbing to the cold and their crush injuries. 9 young, highly capable people did everything they could to survive an impossible situation. The Dyatlov Pass incident doesn't need aliens or conspiracies to be terrifying. It stands as a stark reminder of the indifferent brutality of the elements and absolute proof that careful science can illuminate even the darkest historical shadows.